Ken Morgan, thanks so much. From the first floor, SNY Sam McKee Memorial Broadcast Center. I'm Dave Little, and I'm joined by a very special guest tonight, Jennifer Lappe, trainer, driver extraordinaire. Jennifer, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. Jennifer, you know, you've done so many things in harness racing. I really want to get to the biographical stuff. You started about 25 years ago, and it was with an Amish horse, is that correct?
It's correct. I bought my first horse off the Amish truck. The people that had her decided they were going to Amish her. She was supposed to be broke. She wasn't. I found that out the first day I tried to hook her. She won 3 races for me, and that's how I got started.
Now, I'm assuming Amish horses are not 150 pacers. So how in the heck does one get an Amish horse and turn it into a racehorse?
Work, patience, and a lot of luck. That's the only way that's going to work out.
So the fact of the matter is, when you get an Amish horse, they know nothing about racing, so you got to go to square one.
No, you can, a lot of the retired racehorses or people are selling them for other purposes, other jobs. They're on their way to be buggy horses.
So you're very into looking out for, you know, lost causes, as it were, and maybe sometimes they can race for you.
Yes, and not so many words. I call myself, then I was a salvager.
All right, a salvager.
I was a salvager, and that is part of who I've become.
All right, so now we fast forward. You wanted to become a driver, and you did so at Quad City Downs, or first you were on the county fair circuit?
I started at county fair circuit in the Midwest, Illinois, Iowa county fairs. That's pretty much how everybody would get their start. It was never, I did a few pari-mutuels at Balmoral Park. Later, just drove a few of my own.
Now, when did you make the move? I know that you were racing semi-regularly at Vernon Downs and those tracks. At what point in your career did that happen?
It was 2007 I moved out here. My husband came out here with his veterinarian practice. I followed I had a handful of horses. Came out here, bounced around from a couple different tracks. I drove my own, mostly just to establish myself that I was the real deal. All
right, so you've been out this way about 10 years. Were you a driver who happened to train, or were you a trainer who happened to drive?
Trainer that would just drive my own horses.
Okay, so you drove a lot of your own stock with some success, I know, up certainly on the New York circuit. But then you had kind of a change of heart, and you told me yesterday as we were having a conversation that you actually took a 10-year break from driving so that you could go from being a quote-unquote regular driver to an amateur driver. Tell us about that.
Well, really, I took the 10-year break because I started getting more horses when I came out here. More catch drivers started moving to this area. It became a very specialized business. It was just more profitable to turn the lines over in the evenings to a professional driver. Although, after a while, you start missing being involved, and that's where the amateur racing came in. There's several different clubs. They have different rules about establishing your amateur status, and that would be a certain amount of years hiatus from driving to returning any first monies you might have made as a driver of someone else's horses.
Now, the amateur movement has been in full force now, in my estimation, for about 10 years. Maybe it's closer to 15. But the fact of the matter is, it's gathered a lot of steam through the years. What kind of an effect, what kind of positive effect, I should say, do you think the amateur movement has had on the overall harness racing picture?
Not only has it become more popular, the races are more available. It brings a lot more active participants to the sport. Your family, your friends start to follow it. You get crowds at the racetrack that are following the amateur races. I have lots of friends at grandstands or OTB. That you can't believe the discussions that go on before these amateur races amongst the bettors. It just generates interest. They're more, and the more they have, the more competitive they're becoming. They're becoming good races.
Is there more rivalry or more camaraderie among the drivers in the amateur ranks?
There's a lot of camaraderie, but you get out there and it's you and your horse. But it's all in good fun.
Now, speaking of you and your horse, I made up some graphics yesterday. We're going to start with Jennifer Lappe, the double threat. Now, thus far at the Meadowlands meeting as a trainer, you have 30 starts, 12 on-the-board finishes, and as a driver, you have 11 starts and 4 on-the-board finishes, and you made some history with Stacy Chiodo on February the 9th when you and Stacy completed the first all-female daily double in the 42-year history of the Meadowlands. Were you aware of that at the time?
I was not. And Stacy came into the spit box right after me, and she says, "Oh, girls' night," and high five, and we didn't think anything of it. And then somebody told me about a half an hour later that it was a history-making event, and she is tough and talented, and I was just thrilled to be a part of it with her.
Yeah, Stacy's also made some other big news here at the Meadowlands. She drove Mighty Joe Young to a sub 150 mile as well.
She did.
So clearly,
she
knows
something.
what she's doing. Yeah, she has big skills, but so do you as well. Your training stats, you have 30 starts at the meeting. How many horses have you been campaigning at the Meadowlands?
This year, just this year, I've maybe half a dozen. I haven't brought a whole lot. Right now, I have a lot of older guys just racing at smaller tracks.
Like Monticello?
Yeah.
Okay, are most of your horses racing there?
Most of them are right now.
Now, when you talk about your horses, we're going to talk about some Jennifer's Gems. And first and foremost, we have to talk about Here Comes Numbers, who's been an awfully good trotter for you.
He's a nice trotter to be around. He's just tough as nails. He is not the soundest. He has some lameness issues, but if you don't ask him to overachieve, you can take care of him.
Now, what about J.K. Fielding? This horse won in wire-to-wire fashion in the snowstorm last week. First of all, did you see what he was doing so that you could judge for how good or how not good he was?
Yeah, how about that? We made some equipment changes. I have no idea how they worked out. It seemed like they work out good, but your guess is as good as mine.
So do you think that J.K. Fielding is ready for another big effort tonight?
Let's hope so. He should be competitive. We'll get a better evaluation tonight of how our changes work. He should get an aggressive drive and see how it works out.
Now, I know that you have about 30 horses in your care, but I'm pretty sure that the best one you have is a horse who's racing in tonight's feature. That, of course, is Better's Edge. He's won $2 million in his career, but you've only had him for the last year.
We bought him privately last January. He's a great horse, and he has a fan club everywhere he goes, including me and my husband. So we were just thrilled to have him, and it took a long time before he felt like he was my horse. I felt like I was racing somebody else's horse for a long time, but we've gotten over that. We've gotten over that.
Can you tell when you walk into the barn that this is the best horse that you have in your care?
No, unless I'm coming with alfalfa, he won't even acknowledge I'm there.
Oh, is that right?
That's right. Unless I'm taking him to the paddock or I have a flake of alfalfa, he doesn't even know if I'm in the barn.
Well, I tell you, Jennifer, we have some footage of you winning with the aforementioned Here Comes Numbers. This was on February the 9th, and this was actually the race in which you, along with Stacy, completed the daily double. Tell us about this stretch run.
Well, I got him to the quarter pretty strong, and I was concerned about rating him the middle half. And at the 3/4, I thought I have a chance for him to hold on, and he did. I asked him to do a lot that night, and he showed up.
So Here Comes Numbers is clearly a horse who won here late in January, and when he got to town, he looked to me to be about a $4,000 claimer. I think he's clearly better than that now. What class would you put him in if he wasn't in the amateur ranks?
If he wasn't in the amateur race, he would be back at Monticello. He's about a 75 or a 10.
Yeah, he certainly seems to be very formful at this particular point in time. Is he better on a half-mile track or a big track?
I think he likes a big track better. He's a big, solid horse, and he can stretch out. You just have to manage him. You can't ask him to do too much.
Now, I know that you're married to John Kukinos, whose name we see from time to time in the driver ranks in the amateur races, but John is also a veterinarian as well.
He's a human highlight reel.
Is that so?
He is.
And you've been married for what, 4 years now?
Yes, we've been together a long time. We did finally get married. We got married. Went to train some horses over at Goshen, and we went to the Winter Circle, got married, and took off for the races that night.
Oh, that's great fun. That's great fun. Well, it's
That's
great
what
to have
we do.
somebody in the business. I was fortunate enough to do the same thing. I married a newspaper woman, so I know where you're coming from. Jennifer Lappe, thanks so much for being with us tonight. A very enlightening interview, and lots and lots of continued success here at the Meadowlands and everywhere else that you drive.
Thank you very much.
That's Jennifer Lappe, and this has been In the Sulky. We're back in 60 seconds. Pete Kleinhans will take over Jennifer's seat. We'll talk about tonight's races and the Horse of the Year race.